Hello guys, I'm back from another video, and today we're talking about what if Belle was Genji and Hanzo, or just Genji and Hanzo's, Genji and Hanzo's reincarnations or whatever. So in the last video we talked about how after being told by Loki that he has to go to, to the dungeon with, Bet, which unfortunately he's teamed up with him, he has to go there to basically get some weird looking crystals. Apparently these crystals were apparently pretty valuable. After getting these crystals with, other members of the Loki Familia, like for example Eyes, Tione and things of that sort, they would get interrupted by a weird looking, Minotaur wielding two axes and pretty large, plate armor. Which, the plate armor was pretty high quality in fact. In fact, it's almost resembling of, craftsmanship by, Hephaestus. But everybody was ignoring that part, but they would mostly talk about the whole Minotaur thing. So they would basically start to fight it. Mostly I meant Belle, goddammit. Belle and Bet. After a while of fighting, they would somehow defeat it and would basically get a large monster crystal or monster core after that. After giving that to the adventurers, guild or just the guild, they would get a lot of Valis after that. Currently with the Freya, Freya, god dang it. Sorry about my whole speech impediment, my lisp a little bit. I mean, I'm still pretty much working on that. Okay, so, currently with the Freya Familia, let's just say Freya was not really happy about that. She was basically raging, but she would basically calm herself, knowing that she's going to win in the end. After all, she will win. And she will get her her little prize. In this case, Belle. And she'll get him no matter what. So, after a bit of talking to herself, and also telling her, her other Familia members to basically get out of there, which currently they're doubting if they, still need to, work with her. But either way, they're still working with her either way. So, yeah. So, after we go back to, Belle is basically getting some, some presents for, or at least a present for, Loki. After all, why not? So he would find a nice looking necklace and would basically, decided to make that her present. After buying it, he would basically wrap it up in a little, present box. He would basically arrive at the Loki Familia mansion and would basically put it on her desk. After she woke up, she would basically try on the necklace and would be thankful for, Belle making it, or, buying it for her. And after a while, basically, changing into different clothes, Leafia would basically be there and just, confused what is happening. She would basically tell her about, the whole, Belle basically giving her this thing, aka the, necklace, and she would understand. And after a while of talking, they would basically go back to their rooms, including, Loki. She would basically fall asleep, basically naked. Almost similar to a certain, red-haired, busty girl from a certain DxD anime. Anyway, so after that, we go back to Belle, feeding his pet, his pet bird, aka, Yadagarasu, as he would basically go back to, to his bed, and so would fall asleep. So yeah, so that is basically what happened last episode. And so, let's talk about what happens next. So, we go back to Belle basically, just doing some missions and also some, some things for the Loki Familia, mostly, gathering some items, going into the dungeon, blah blah blah. And it was somehow pretty, just normal. I mean, there was some setbacks, like for example, the whole, stealing, a whole burglary that happened, which, by the way, not Izuku, I meant Belle, goddamn. After, Belle basically solved the case, he would basically, get the reward, which was a lot of Alice. Somehow, he's starting to think that maybe the god of money is basically, blessing him, or, somehow slipped up. So, currently, Belle is basically, just alone in his, room, basically just thinking, I mean, I've been doing a lot of, work lately, so why not get some rest time? So, he would decide to, maybe call up Loki to basically go on a little date. Back with Loki. Loki has been doing a lot of work lately, and she's, not really enthused with it. I mean, she's slowly starting to, somehow, finish all of her work, but she still really wants to, procrastinate, I meant. So, she would decide to, wait for a second, decides to just, procrastinate and decides, why not just, do nothing? So, after a while of basically, doing nothing, she would say, I'm bored. Where is Izuku? Not Izuku, I meant Belle, goddammit. I want to see Belle, she would basically start, saying out loud, which currently the other members of the Loki Familia would basically hear this as they would think, yeesh, she sure is clingy to Izuku. Not Izuku, I meant Belle. Oh, god damn it. So, currently, Belle is currently, going through the streets of Arario as he would arrive at the Loki Familia mansion. After arriving there, he would basically, go inside as everybody's basically looking at him, as all of them would think, yeah, he's certainly gonna have his, hands full with Loki right now. So, back with Belle. Belle is basically, going through the, walls, or at least the house of, or at least the mansion or whatever of, Loki, as he would arrive at Loki's office. Loki would be there basically, doing nothing, as Belle would say this. Oh, hey Loki. As she would say, oh, Belle, you're here. What are you doing here? You said that you're gonna have a rest day. As he would say this. Well, let's just say that rest day was pretty restless to me. So, maybe we can hang out, maybe go on a date. As she would say this. That'd actually be, wonderful. But let me just finish up this. After doing some paperwork, she would basically start, wrap her arms around, Belle's arm, as she would basically say, come on, let's go. That was a big lightning strike. Yeah, currently it's raining outside, so there's probably some noise, or at least some background noise, so please ignore that, and I just hope there's no blackout. I'm just hoping. So, currently, Belle is basically going through the streets with, Loki after, leaving the Loki Familia mansion, as they're basically, just going around, basically looking at, some stands. After a while walking, they would basically go towards a little restaurant. After arriving there, they would basically start to, order their food and basically start eating. Some members of, random familias would start to say, is that Loki? As one of them would say, yeah, and she's actually dating with a guy? As one of them would say, see, I told you she's bi. As one of them would say, no, you stupid. As they would basically start to glare at Izuku, as Izuku would just glare back. As one of them would say, wait, does he look familiar to you? As one of them would say this. Wait, don't tell me that. As one of them would say this. That's as one of them would say, that's Izuku. Not Izuku, I meant Belle. That's Belle Cornell. They would basically say, in unison, they would say, you mean that Belle Cornell? As one would say this. Yeah. The Eastern Warlord. They would basically say, as when Izuku heard that, he would say, Eastern Warlord. That sounds like an interesting name, said Belle. As Belle would basically look back at Loki, still chowing down and drinking a lot of ale. As she would say this, hey, give me more alcohol, for God's sake, she would basically say, as some members of, not really members, more like, some employees would basically bring out some more ale, as, Belle would basically say, can you give me a water, please? As he would basically, see the waiter basically bringing him some water. Because they already know that it's actually, Belle. After hearing his, him basically going to that restaurant many times earlier. Apparently, this is his favorite restaurant, maybe right next to, the Hostess of Fertility. I mean, their prices are not really to scoff at, but still, it's pretty expensive. So, after a while of eating, they would basically start to leave the, restaurant. So, Loki would be, holding onto his arm as they would decide to go to a little park. And so would basically start to chit-chat and just hang out. So, as Loki is basically, just like, sitting down, as Belle would start to feel a little bit tired, as he would say, ugh, I'm actually starting to feel a little bit tired, Loki. As she would basically get an idea. As she would say, "Hey, Belle." As he would look towards her, as he would say, "What is it, Loki?" As she would say this. As she would basically start to pat her, lap, as she would say this. "How'd you sleep on my lap?" After hearing this, he would start to blush as Belle would say, "You don't really need to do that. I mean, we're still dating, but still, I'm not really ready for that." As she would say, "Oh, come on, it really isn't that, worrying for you, right?" As Belle would say this, "You think so?" As she would say, "Come on." As she would basically put her, arms around Izuku's, not Izuku, I meant Belle's head. God dang it. She would basically put Belle on her, lap, as, Belle would basically snuggle up his head towards her, thighs, as you would feel a little bit of warmth. As she would say this. "You kind of look like a baby like this," as Belle would say this. "Shut up." He would basically say with a little bit of a, red tint in his, cheeks, as she would say this. "I guess so." She would basically start to laugh a little, as she would basically use her hands to basically start, to rub his hair. Basically, I guess you can say, like, touch a little bit of his hair, basically playing with it. As she would say this. "Your hair is quite soft, Izuku. I wonder how you actually get it super fluffy." As Izuku would say this. Not Izuku, I meant Belle, god damn it. I'm guessing you guy, I'm guessing you guy, the one that's basically doing all of the, the times that counting all of the times that I keep saying, Izuku instead of, Belle. You're definitely gonna have a fucking field day. I just know it. So, as you know, Belle is basically, getting his hair played with. Currently, with, Freya. Freya is basically having the freaking brain aneurysm currently, as she's basically, raging that, Loki is playing with, Belle's hair. Yeah, she's pretty much a yandere at this point. So, she's basically clenching her fists, as she would say, "Alright, I'm done with this." She would basically scream out, as every single member of the not Loki Familia, I meant the, of the Freya Familia would basically start, tense. As she would say this, "All of you!" As all of them would basically, get into positions, as they would say this. "What is it, Lady Freya?" As she would say this. "Capture Belle. I want him, no matter what. And if you dare get anything, or at least get him a little bit hurt, I will make sure that your lives are hell." She would basically say that, as all of them would tense up, as she would say, "Capture Belle, but do not hurt him. I want him here right by my side. Got it?" She would basically scream out, as all of them would start, nod their heads, and they would start to leave. As she would say this. "Good. Now, it's enough time. Soon, Belle, you're going to be mine, and you'll be right by me as my king." She would basically say, currently with Belle and, Loki. Loki is basically still playing with his hair, as, currently, Belle is basically, fully asleep. He's basically closing his eyes as he feels super comfortable, saying, "It feels quite nice, Loki." As she would say this. "Thank you, my little Belle." As she would basically lean in for a kiss, as they would start to deeply kiss, similar to, what happened last time on their first date. They would basically start kissing deeply, and they would basically start, start to almost fall, backwards. As, after a while of kissing, they would basically stop, as Belle would say this. "How would you go to my house? Maybe we can finish what we started." He would basically smirk, as she would say this. "Oh, you read my mind pretty well, Belle." She would basically say with a perverted grin, as he would say this. "I didn't know that the great Loki, the goddess, is actually a pervert." As she would say this. "Oh, you really don't know me." As they would basically start to move away, going towards, Belle's home, aka his apartment. So, after arriving there, they would basically, lock the door, and, Belle would basically slowly take off his, coat that he was wearing during their date, as Loki would basically change into, well, mostly just her bra and, panties. So I'm gonna be making this an 18 plus scene. So if all of you guys are not 18 and 18 and above, get out. Like, absolutely get out. Even though I'm 16, I don't give a fuck. So get out. So Belle is basically, on top of, Loki, as Loki is basically, in a more, I guess you can say, submissive, position, as she would say this. So, really doing this. As Belle would say this. Yeah, I guess so. As Belle would basically slowly fondle her, tatas. As, even though they're not really big, they still are kind of, pretty good to him. And he doesn't really, care about her appearance. The only thing that he cares about is her. And just her only. As she would basically start to moan out in pleasure, as, she would basically say, Belle, please more. She would basically slowly, go towards, Belle's abs, as she would slowly, start to stroke forward, as she would make it towards, Belle's pants, and would start, not really stroke it, more like, slowly just like, touch it, while it's still, still pretty much concealed. As she would basically, start, feel, Belle's breath basically, wafting off of her, or at least wafting into her. As she would say this, I absolutely love it, Belle. Please do it. As she would say this, he would say this, I meant Belle. As he would say, sure, why not? As they would start to go into the 69 position. And if you've done what it is, well, search it up. And probably get out if you're not really old enough to know this. So, yeah. So, as Belle would... That was a big loud sound of thunder. That sounds concerning. Oh, God. So, as Belle is basically taking off his, boxers, as he would show off his 9-inch length. Which somehow gone large, like it's somehow gone larger and turned into 11 inches. As she would say this, you've gone bigger, Belle. She would basically say with a gleam in her eyes, as he would say this, I guess you can say it's for you. As Belle would basically, slowly, put it into her mouth, as she would say this, I'll gladly do it for you. As she would basically open her mouth, as she would basically start, take it all in. After, doing that, Belle would basically take off her panties, which are currently, soaking wet, as he would start to, snacking on her snatch, I guess you can say. Both of them would start, lick each other's members, and they would basically start, start being pleasured. Currently, outside. Currently, some members of the Freya Familia are basically there, getting ready to, capture Belle, but currently, they're not really interested right now because they're currently nosebleeding to death. What do I mean by this? Well, when Belle and, Loki started their whole, session there, currently, all of them, specifically, mostly male members, are currently nosebleeding to death. And with the girls, let's just say they're, pretty much, completely red and are completely stunned. Yeah. So, Belle isn't going to get captured. Maybe. So, as Belle is basically, just like, still getting, I guess you could say jerked off by, by Loki, she would say, Belle, I think I'm about to, as Belle would say this, yeah, me too. Just take it all in. After saying this, Belle would basically slam his, dingling all the way to, all the way down, Loki's throat, as Belle would basically, Archie blows. As she would also Archie blows, spraying out a lot of her, I guess you can say her love juices. As he would spray, all over Belle's bed. As Belle would get a full brunt of the, I guess you can say, splash zone, I guess you can say. As after doing that, she would basically, get off Belle's dick. As, she would say, that felt nice, Belle. She would basically say with a little bit of a glint in her eyes, as Belle would say this. I guess you too. As he would start to lick a little bit of her love juice from his face, as he would say this. Now, how would you try out something a little bit better? As he would basically, pick up, Loki, as he would basically, put her on top of his, ding-a-ling, as she would say this. Are you sure about this? She would basically say, as Belle would say this. Yeah. Are you perhaps worried? As she would say this. No. I'm just wondering if you're okay with it. I mean, I'm not really that beautiful, and I don't really have, the assets for it. As Belle would basically slap her ass, as she would say, eek. She would basically start to eek a little bit, as Belle would say this. Don't say things like that. And besides, I love you either way. I always loved you. Okay? So don't be hard on yourself just because you're not beautiful or anything. As she would say this. Thank you, Belle. She would basically say that with a, hopeful tone, as Belle would basically say this. So are you ready? As she would say this. Yeah, I guess I am ready. So, as Belle is basically slowly, creeping up on her, snatch, she would basically, as Belle basically pushes her down by using her waist as a, I guess you could say lever, she would basically slowly, lower herself as well, she would start feeling, her hymen basically break, letting out a bit of blood. As she would say, she would basically start to cringe a little as Belle would say this. Are you okay? As she would say this. Yeah, I'm fine. I just never did anything like this before. As Belle would say this. How would I relieve you of that? He would basically say, as he would basically start, start making hickeys on her neck. She would basically start, moan a little bit in pleasure as Belle would basically start, biting a little bit of her, erect, I guess you could say, muffins, I guess you could say, as, she would start moaning out, saying, please, Belle, please, as Belle would say this. What do you want me to do? As she would say this. I want you, as Belle would say this. You want me to what? As she would say this. Please, pump my womb. Please, I want you to pleasure me. Please, use your... As you would just, I guess you could say, she would basically say, to basically just, thrust into her, I guess you could say. After hearing this, Belle would say, sure, I guess I could do that. As Belle would basically grab her waist, as you would grab, using one of his other hands to basically grab onto, her little, I guess you can say a little bazonga over there. As you would basically start to, thrust in and out of her. She would start to feel, a little bit of pain and resistance from it, but it would slowly become pleasure. It would become pleasurable to her in a few minutes later. So, after a while of basically, doing it, she would basically say, hey Belle, I think we're about to, as Belle would say this. Don't worry, I'm also about to. As she would say this. By the way, Belle, as she would basically, cross her legs, basically, making him basically stuck to her, as she would say this. I want you to spurt all over me. I want you to burst inside me. As Belle would say this. Are you sure you might get... As she would say this. Don't worry. I'm a goddess, so it won't affect me as much. As Belle would say this. If you say so. As after a few minutes, he would burst. As, Loki is basically moaning out, as her, back starts to arc, she would basically start to bend her back a little bit, as she would moan out in pleasure, saying, Belle's name. And after a few minutes, she would basically lay back down, pretty much happy, and pretty much having a fucked silly face. As Belle would basically come up to her, as he would basically start to, fondle, starts to fondle a bit of her, her bazonga over there, as he would basically start to kiss her, as she would say this. That felt... As Belle would say this. That felt what? As she would say, that felt nice, Belle. As Belle would say this. I knew you liked it. As she would basically say, I guess so. She would basically come up to him, as she would basically start, a little bit of, wait for a second. She would basically lick a bit of, Belle's, dripping, I guess you could say ding-a-ling, that's still covered in his, white stuff, and, her love juices. As Belle would basically grab her head and would basically start, let her, at her own pace, start to do a BJ on him. So after a few minutes, she would basically, change her clothes, changing into just a baggy shirt that, that Belle gotten, and would just wear her, still some, panties. As Belle would say this. Well, it's currently late, so as she would say this. Yeah, I think it's better for me to just, stay here for the night. Is that okay with you? As Belle would say this. Yeah, I'm okay with it. As after hearing this, she would say, thank you. She would basically say that under her breath, as Belle would say this. So, come on. As after, going onto the bed and basically just, taking off all the clothes that she somehow wasted, as Belle would say this. So you like sleeping in the nude? As she would say this. I guess you could say it's comfortable. After saying this, Belle would say, how would I try it? After taking off a bit of his clothes, she would basically, come a little bit closer to him, as Belle would still be, still have an erection. And so she would basically, come a little bit closer to him, and basically, her entrance is basically, near his, little dingling over there. Belle would basically hug her while they're, falling to sleep, and so both of them would basically fall asleep, and yeah. So we go to a different perspective. We go back to the kidnappers of the, Freya Familia currently still nosebleeding to death, and the others blushing or fainting to death, and they were basically, just getting out of there, knowing that they basically failed their mission. So after arriving back at the, Freya Familia, let's just say their punishment was not really lightly. They were told that they had to go to the dungeon and do several missions, which those missions were pretty much dangerous. So, yeah. So currently with the other members of the Freya Familia, they're currently just thinking that Freya is completely different now ever since Belle came into the picture. So some of them would start to think, hey, why do we even still listen to her? As one of them would say this, we can't betray Freya, right? Because of that stupid spell. As one of them would say this, yeah, I know, but why do we even still work with her? I mean, she's pretty much obsessive of, Mr. Bell over there, so, as one of them would say this, yeah, but unfortunately, he's too much of a hassle to try and, get him, so, as one of them would say this, yeah, agreed, so, what are we going to do? As one of them would say this, I don't know, but maybe in the future, maybe Miss Freya might, get over her little obsession with Belle. As one would say this. I hope so. Currently with, Freya was watching the whole, Belle and Loki basically, having their first time, and let's just say, Freya was not happy. Let's just say she was furious. She would basically say, not only did she stole Belle's first kiss, my Belle's first kiss, she also stole. She would basically start shaking in anger, as she would say, I will not have mercy on her. I will get you, Belle. I will get you, and you will be mine. All mine! After saying this, she would basically start burning with rage, as she would say, Otar. As Otar would appear, as he would say this, what is it, Miss Freya? As she would say this, I want you to get Belle, and no matter what, don't let him get near any Familia member, including those of the Freya, not Freya, I meant the Loki Familia. They're gonna be a hassle to deal with. Got it! She would basically say with an angered tone, as he would say this. Sure, my mistress. He would basically say with a bow, as she would say this. Good. Now leave! He would basically start to leave, as she would say, soon, Belle, you'll be all mine. And this time, she would basically start to clench her fist, as she would say, I'll make sure that you'll be mine forever. She would basically say with the almost sadistic smile. And so, we're going to be leaving this episode right off here. So yeah, I hope you liked the video. comment, and subscribe, and I hope to see you guys next time. Bye-bye!